Hello, I'm Chuck Quarles. Being involved in urban infill housing, I think the work that we do provides a community service. I mean, the community is underserved as it is, the housing stock is old, and so when you're able to do affordable housing, the type of housing, you have a sense of what the community needs. And we tended to do primarily multifamily housing, so that's what we did. We knew that the housing, since it was affordable, that provided a community service. And we've done that over the last 25, 30 years. Many people who were in a different field have decided after working with us that they wanted to be developers themselves. So I think that that's one of the things that we're proud of, because I can look out and see a number of developers who used to work for me, who then later on became competitors of mine.
Hi, my name is Starlet Quarles. I am president of UrbanX Marketing, born and raised right here in Los Angeles, California. I think one of my most proudest moments of community service is having the opportunity to host President Barack Obama in our home for a breakfast fundraiser last year in June. But it was the impact that it had on our community and the responses that we got from our neighbors and just from Black Angelenos about how proud they were to know that the president came south of Wilshire.
Children tend to want to emulate their parents. And so my father was a strong parent. And when you admire someone and you want to emulate them, you tend to want to follow in their footsteps. While I was a kid in school, he used to take me out to the job site and during the summers. And I'd work as a laborer and decided I wanted to be as far away from this as possible. This is not something I want to do. But, you know, as I learned how real estate worked, decided that, you know, it might be a good thing for me to go and join my father. While he was on the contracting side, I could be on the developing side. And so we joined forces, and I left banking, and my father and I started working together. And perhaps that's what happened with Starlet, my daughter. I think that she grew up in a household where she watched me work hard, and I think I pushed her in a certain direction. And being the kind of, having our personality, a personality that tends to want you to be your own boss and not be dictated to, but have control of your daily activities and do something that you really enjoy doing as opposed to doing something that somebody else wants you to do. And
Does white privilege exist?
Absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely.
And where's the proof of that?
All around. You know, I tell people often now, in hindsight, one of the things that I wish I would have been more cognizant of was the white privilege at UCLA that was sitting, you know, right next to me. For Black people, I believe white privilege is something to leverage.
What is it though? I don't see it anywhere. What is it? What is it?
How don't you
For
not
people
see
like
white
me
privilege?
who don't see it.
How do you not see white privilege?
Because it doesn't exist. That's
Yes,
what
it does.
So what is it exactly?
I believe white privilege is just the ability just to be free and white and not have the same type of social, economic, and social ills as Black people have to deal with. I mean, there's no white racial profiling. White people don't get pulled over by the cops just because they're white. They have the ability to, you know, show emotion and love to their sons without being emasculated. There's all kind of examples of white privilege.
If you believe
Absolutely. Why don't you Black? How come you don't believe white privilege exists? What you see?
Well, because you know, I am Black in color, but I don't have that dark mentality that most Black people have.
Clearly.
I see, she said clearly, I see that white people have the same struggles and things that we have in that
What type of
they have
struggles
to
do they
make their
have?
marriages work. They have to make their children, help their kids grow up in the right way so that they can earn a living and be independent.
But they also have the majority of their fathers at home.
Right, and the reason for that, it's starting to change somewhat now, but the reason for that is because they are taking responsibility for that, whereas black men and women are not taking responsibility for that, as they did prior to the Civil Rights Movement. Black people are blaming it on their lack of self-control and self-containment. They're blaming it on white people, while white people are working hard to keep it going.
I do believe that there is a need for black people to be held more accountable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that doesn't excuse racism, that doesn't excuse institutionalized racism, that doesn't excuse...
But there's no such thing as that. It's an illusion made up by black people and their leaders.
No, it's not. It exists.
Well,
Sorry.
where's the proof of it, though?
What do you mean, where's the proof of it?
There are many kids who are getting into, black kids who are allowed to get into these universities around the country, right, based on affirmative action, and because of affirmative action based on their color. That's discrimination based on color, and that's wrong. And these kids are getting in, but they're not earning their way, so when they fail, they feel less than before they were allowed to get in based on color.
I'm a proud product of affirmative action. When I went to UCLA, it was because I was an affirmative action student.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I think I turned out fantastic. So a lot of my peers who were having challenges getting into some of these predominantly white institutions, the affirmative action was great. My father went to Harvard. You know, he was one of very few blacks.
Was he affirmative action person?
I don't know if he was. That was back in the late 60s.
Well, then he wasn't. He earned his way.
So, that being said, I still believe that affirmative action helped me get into UCLA, and it gave me access.
You would
and
not
exposure.
have gotten in there on your own because you were not smart enough?
I don't know if I wasn't smart enough, but based on the curve and what I was competing with you know, other individuals who had different educational opportunities and teachers. I mean, I'm coming from, you know, the LA Unified School District. I mean, so at the time, I think LAUSD was still pretty good. But I went to all white schools from high school up through college.
So you got a good education. Why couldn't you get into the school based on your own talent?
I don't know. Maybe because I didn't have some of the opportunity.
But you had the opportunity.
No, well, first of all,
you had the same opportunity those white kids were having.
Not necessarily. I had different teachers. I had different resources.
So you went to a white integrated school.
I'm talking about
mostly
going
white.
into these other into UCLA. I still had to be able to deal with some of the issues and going to predominantly white schools.
Like
but
what?
I still had to be able to compete.
Like what?
What do you mean, like what?
Some of the issues going to a predominantly
I would graduate from University High School, and at the time they didn't have an African American student union.
An African American student union?
At the school.
Well, that's a good thing.
They didn't have one.
That's a good thing.
Why?
Why do you need something like that?
They have Asian student unions. They have Jewish student unions. They have all kind of different.
Did they have white
unions.
student union?
They need student union. They own the whole school. So
but the kids didn't own the school. The kids didn't.
But I'm saying there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing wrong with having a segregated, you know, population of students who just want to study together, or work together, or to be able to.
Would you be in support of a white student union?
Yeah, of course.
It would be okay with you?
Yeah, why not?
But most blacks don't feel that way.
I think all cultures should be able to segregate and to be able to work within their cultures and network within their own cultures. Absolutely.
Does racism exist?
I believe racism does exist.
And where's the proof of that?
You just see it all over in the country. We're proof of it. In terms of just
what do I see?
Disproportionate in the economics with black people.
But that has nothing to do with racism.
It does. Racism is about power. It's about who's in control. And black people can't be racist because we're not in control. We're not in control of the educational system, some of the social organizations and things that run this country. We're not in control. Racism is about power.
But you would be in control of your own life if you had good parents, if they taught you how to be independent, if they taught you how to build, how to take care of. I've noticed that the reason I left where I lived over there in the Crenshaw district is that once the white people left, because once I moved there, when I first moved there, it was mostly whites. But once they left, as they did in Gary, Indiana, and other places, the blacks turned it into a ghetto. A beautiful area went to hell in a handbasket, so I got out. But if blacks had more character and they were taking care of themselves and being responsible and buying land and teaching their children.
That has to be taught.
Then, right, so that has nothing to do with racism.
But that has to, of course, that has to be taught.
So it's not racism, it's not white people's fault that you're not teaching your children to do that.
No, but it's not, if the parents don't know.
They don't know, but that's not white people's fault though.
But if they go into some of these institutions, these predominantly white institutions, they are targeted. They don't have the same opportunities because of their color. It's true. I mean,
so then why go in there then? Why not go to an all-black school if you feel that?
Some people do choose to do that.
I'm sorry?
Some people do choose. That's
well, why you see a lot of these black kids going to these white universities, and then they force their way in by saying, I need affirmative action. Once they get in, now they crying racism. Why do you want to force your way in with the people you think are your enemies, and you're still complaining once you get there?
I don't think people are forcing their way. Does
affirmative action even exist? Is forced based on color.
Does affirmative action even exist? Are people getting in based on affirmative action?
Yes.
Here, for example, is a one-room cabin in the cotton country. The farm, 3 acres of thin, sour land. The household, mind you, they all sleep together on pallets in this little cabin. 12 persons. This primitive home, this big household, this small, thin-soiled farm, these exemplify the conditions in question at their worst.
Now, you also remember, I think, a rather historic thing in the land history of this country, the Bodyke evictions.
I do.
Could you describe for us what happened at those evictions? You were at them.
I was at one of them for about 5 hours. One day.
And what happened?
That was very cruel. They threw out children and women on the road. Well, there was one of them thrown out one day I was in it, and the baby was only about 3 days old. And they were thrown on the bank of the go for their life. It was cruel.
And how about the type of food you had to eat at that time, Mr. Fitzpatrick? What did you live on?
Well, we had to live there a long time on an Indian maid and flour.